What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Hisui Cup, and we're first going to start off with the top 20 ranked Pokemon, and then we're going to get into, I think it's 11 top teams that I have for you. So without further ado, let's take a look at the top 20 ranked Pokemon. At 1 and 2, we have Drapion, we've got Dusknoir, Gastrodon, Spiritomb, Hisuian Quillfish, Gliscor, Overquill, its evolution, Gliscor again, Dusknoir again, Shadow Glade, Vespiquen, Mamoswine, Driftblim, Shadow Abomasnow, Sneasler, XL Hippopotas, Electivire, the Shadow Electivire, XL Mantike, and Shadow Heatran. So already some really cool picks for this cup. So without further ado, a special thank you to the Legend Trainer members on this channel, Big Burden, Andrew Pitten, and Moosechu. I will say that this cup is going to be a very limited meta, but there are some unique mons, so at least we've got that going for us. So into the first team, we've got an ABC style team here. We've got Gastrodon on the lead, which has one weakness, which is a double weakness to grass. And then of course we have two answers to grass in the back with a poison and an ice. Gastrodon of course also has trouble with flyers, but ice deals with those as well. The most common in this meta being Gliscor and Vespiquen. And then of course Abomasnow in the back is weak to fire, it's weak to poison, it's weak to rock, it's weak to steel, and Gastrodon deals with all four of those typings, which is really great. And then Drapion just as the safe swap and just the rank 1 Pokemon in this cup. The next team we're going to take a look at is a bit of a fun one. It's kind of a meme team with like a triple XL level 50 team, but it's also surprisingly strong. Mantike has only two weaknesses in electric and rock, and then Hippopotas as a ground resists both of those, and it hits them for super effective damage with Sand Attack and Dig. So pretty interesting core there. And then Bastiodon is weak to fighting, ground, and water, which Mantike resists all of those. So obviously Hippopotas would be your safe swap, meant to lure out the weaknesses that Bastiodon doesn't want to see. It also has great coverage with ground and rock. It has access to Rock Tomb, and it gets there pretty quickly due to Sand Attack. Ground and rock coverage goes virtually everywhere in this meta. I don't think there's anything that really resists both, besides maybe like Torterra, if anyone decides to run that, or I think Hisuian Decidueye is potentially in here as well, but they're going to be very low ranked. And then we have double super effective Aerial Ace for Hisuian Decidueye on the lead. So great core there. And then you basically just have Bastiodon, which runs free in the back with 2 shields plus fast move pressure to close out the game. The next team that we're going to take a look at is Mamoswine, Shadow Dusknoir, and Togekiss. Of course, this is an ABC style team that leans into primarily fast move damage. This is a relatively glassy cup. I don't know if you've noticed from the top 20 ranked Pokemon. So fast move damage will inevitably become king, which is why we're actually running Mamoswine with Mud Slap on the lead. And then the other movesets are as shown. Mudslap Mamoswine actually has some really unique wins in the meta, while also maintaining its ice coverage for flyers like Gliscor. Like it still beats Gliscor as a Mudslapper, which is hilarious. It's also now an ice that beats things like Empoleon and Sneasler because of the fast move damage from Mudslap. This team could theoretically work in any order, but the reason I chose this one is because I think there's going to be a lot of Drapion, so you want to be ABB strong to Drapion. So that way if you lure it out with your safe switch, you can at least grab a shield with Dynamic Punch potentially, and then farm it down with Mud Slaps. But if you see it on the lead and you were kind of ABA strong to it, then you kind of just have a losing matchup that you have to stay into. So running ABB weak, I think, is going to be the safest course for this meta. The next team that we have here is an ABB style team where we have 2 Pokemon in the back, weak to fighting and electric. We've got a water dark and a water steel. So the Pokemon on the lead also deals with those as a ground flyer, resists both. Gliscor, of course, is also weak to ice and water, which both Pokemon in the back resist. I think Hisuian Decidueye, Hisuian Samurott is a great safe swap for this meta with Dark Pulse and Icy Wind. And then also, I think it's going to be a crucial part of this meta because of its typing and what it walls. It's a dark water, which means it walls the typical moveset of Drapion, of Qwilfish, of Overqwil, which are going to be extremely common in this meta. The next one we're going to take a look at is an ABC style team with a safe swap of Qwilfish. We have Glade, which is weak to Fairy and Flying. So then Heatran as a Fire and Steel resists both of those. Heatran is also weak to Ground and Water, which Glade has super effective Leaf Blade for. And then Qwilfish, just a great safe swap in this meta, functions as a great substitute for Drapion in case you don't have one. And then Qwilfish is also meant to lord out the grounds that Heatran doesn't want to see on this team. The next team that we're going to take a look at also includes Mamoswine. This is an ABC style team, but this time Mamoswine is actually on its recommended moveset of Powder Snow, Spiritomb, just a safe swap that is neutrally strong into the majority of Mamoswine's weaknesses. And then Sneasler has great closing potential in this meta as a fighter with Shadow Claw. It's one of the few things that can break the Samurott plus Dusk Noir core that we might end up seeing in this cup. It's just hard to give that team a third without being core broken by a couple other different Pokemon, but that said, I think it's still a very strong core. And then we have Mamoswine as a ground that just beats the other grounds, which of course Sneasler doesn't want to see, as well as the flyers that Sneasler would like to avoid. The next team we're going to take a look at is Vespiquen, Overqwil, and Lickilicky. This is another ABC style team focused around the core of Vespiquen and Lickilicky with the safe swap of Overqwil, which is just another Drapion substitute if you don't have one. If you somehow have Overqwil and not Drapion, I don't know. But Vespiquen is weak to Fire, Flying, Rock, Ice, and Electric. It's got a pretty crappy typing, being a bug flyer. But Lickilicky also only has one weakness to Fighting, but it's also bad against grounds because it uses Rollout, which is resisted. But Vespiquen does well into Fighters and Grounds because, as I mentioned, it's a flying bug. And then when you think about Lickilicky's coverage, right, it has Rollout, which is super effective into Fire, Flying, and Ice, which Vespiquen is weak to. And then it has super effective Earthquake for Rock and Electric, which Vespiquen is weak to. So really decent core there. Of course, there are just some Pokemon that are neutrally strong into both of these Pokemon, so you just have to watch out for both of those. And then Overqwil to lure out the grounds that Lickilicky doesn't want to see, and then has super effective Aqua Tail for those. The next team we're going to take a look at is another ABC style team. This time we have the core between Electivire and Glade, which happens to be super strong. You can see right down the board, it's nearly perfect. And that's just because, well, first of all, you have Electric plus Ice coverage, which is nearly perfect in itself and can hit at least neutral in virtually every single matchup in the meta. That's just true for the Open Great League as well. The only typing in Pokemon Go that resists both Electric and Steel, resists both, is Electric and Steel. So Glade, of course, has close combat for those Pokemon, in case you do see those. And then it also has super effective Leaf Blade for Gastron, which of course Electivire doesn't want to see. And then Drifblim just acts as a safe swap for this team. It is meant to lure out Ghosts that Glade wants to avoid. It also has Icy Wind coverage for a good portion of the meta, and it double resists everything from Gastron. So that's good because obviously Electivire doesn't want to see that. So we have two Pokemon on the back that are strong into Gastrodon. The next team is kind of a fun team. It's another ABC style team with Drapion as a safe switch, just meant to lure out the grounds that Lucario doesn't like. I'd argue that it's kind of tough. I would say Bullet Punch over Force Palm on Lucario, specifically for this team because it covers your weaknesses better, namely because Giratina is weak to Fairy and Ice. And also Force Palm is resisted on Ghost, which also Giratina is weak to. And then you could opt for double nuke because you do need that fighting type coverage because obviously you have Drapion in this meta or a lot of darks in this meta, which you would like to have at least neutral like close combats or something for, which would absolutely nuke a Drapion, especially because Lucario is super classy. Lucario also has really unique typing in this meta because it's weak to Fighting and Fire as a Steel, But Giratina resists both of those, but then also it's good in a Drapion because of its steel fighting typing. Double resisting poison stings and then resisting crunch because it's a fighter. The second to last team that we're going to take a look at is Lickilicky, HISUI and Electrode, and Roserade. This is more of an ABB style team with double grass in the back, but Electrode is kind of a fake grass because it doesn't really run any grass coverage, but it does have great bait potential with Swift and then Wild Charge to nuke unsuspecting answers to this Pokemon, making it very good on the safe switch. Like if you saw a Gastrodon on lead and you swapped into Electrode, chances are the opponent's going to swap out because all they're going to do is you're going to see that grass typing and they're like, oh shoot, I got to get out of there. And then suddenly they come in with something that only has a neutral matchup into Electrode, and Electrode now has an energy advantage and it has like wild charges to nuke virtually anything in this meta, which is why you see it's just super strong down the board. And then Roserade also has a fantastic win rate in this meta. It is down at 68 because I think it's a little bit of a sim hero with Weather Ball Fire and Leaf Storm. So if you're able to get your baits right or put this thing on a shield or energy advantage in the end game, I think it will go ham. It also shares a lot of the same weaknesses as Vespiquen, which is why Lickilicky is great for coverage and makes a great core there. The final team that we're going to take a look at is very similar to the first team that I showed in this top teams video, but instead of Abomasnow, we have Wormadam Trash. You're still weak to fire in the back. Actually, you're double weak to fire now. Well, actually, so is Abomasnow, but that's it. Wormadam only has one weakness, and it actually has a positive matchup in a Drapion, which is nice, and I expect Drapion to be absolutely everywhere. Having no Pokemon weak to Drapion will be very important for this meta. There's also an argument to be made for Metal Sound on Wormadam Trash. It actually has a better win rate in the one shield scenario because, of course, it charges energy a little bit faster. But you do drop some key matchups and make others worse, specifically like Gastrodon, which isn't great. So we'll see how the meta develops and which fast move you want to run. But yeah, that's 10 top or 11 top teams, whatever it was, for the HISUI Cup. That's going to be it for me from this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.